And we are live with the first episode of the Acolyte Tonight. That rhymes. And I only figured that out this morning, and I was like, I'm going to change the name. It was going to be the Acolyte After Show. It's that show brought to you by The Keeg where we talk about the episodes or episode of Acolyte that just came out. For this time tonight, episode 1 and episode 2 came out as a duo, so we're here to talk about episodes 1 and 2 of the Acolyte. I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and we also got co-host Sara, aka Miss Marauder.
Hello, delighted to be here.
You are a fan of Star Wars.
A little bit. I've been known to like a Star Wars or two.
Yeah, I mean,
actually, since the last, I got a new Star Wars tattoo since the last time I was here. I got the Millennium Falcon.
Oh, nice.
And I have little Chopper back here.
Okay.
I got 2 new Star Wars tattoos.
Are they addicting?
Tattoos are in general.
But also out of the fandom that you love. Like, I feel like that's extra addicting. Like, if I got one X-Men tattoo, I wouldn't stop until I got all the X-Men tattooed on me. Like,
there's people out there drawing X-Men tattoos.
No, I know.
Part of the problem for me is I have a lot of Harry Potter tattoos, and I'm no longer big into Harry Potter for obvious reasons. So now I feel like I have to even it out with more Star Wars tattoos to be like, I feel like it's not properly representing I tip the scales into Star Wars and everything ever all at once and all the stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't have any tattoos, but you know what? I could see myself getting I don't know, a Jedi insignia or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go get
maybe we'll see.
Is that the kind with the lightsaber with the wings on the outside?
I mean that's more a High Republic specific one. It sounds like you're describing.
No, the in the prequels.
No, the Jedi
right?
Knight one. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a.
Okay.
Isn't there one?
Yeah. Yes, I don't know if I would categorize it as wings, but
Are they not wings?
It kind of looks like the Rebel insignia.
Yeah.
But it's like skinnier.
Yeah. By the way, anyone who's watching us live is watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. You can see who our guest is that I have not yet introduced. But if you're listening to the podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, you don't know who our guest is. It's DarthChoco himself, DarthChoco.
Hello there. Thank you for having me. There was how did you feel about watching it today and not midnight?
If I had watched it at midnight, because I was very confused, Choco knows. I was talking to him yesterday. I was like, I thought it was going to come out at midnight, however many hours ago, 18 hours ago or whatever. But I would have watched it twice, I think, if that was the case. I would have watched it midnight last night, and then I would watch it again today, I think, for the purpose of this episode. Instead, I just watch it once.
No, I was just hoping that you would wake up, then try to turn it on, and it just doesn't come on, and you just sit there waiting. Like, refresh.
I was very upset. And then I realized, this after show can still work out. Because it's early enough that I can still have the after show at 8 o'clock this time and, still do it. Because if I couldn't do it on Tuesday night, then I'm busy, so I don't know. The Acolyte Tonight would have been the Acolyte to next week. I don't know. Both of you guys are Star Wars fans. And before we even talk about this episode, the fact that this series even exists, what were your hopes and dreams, before this, when this show was announced?
I mean, a big part of me making content is actually my love of the High Republic era, because it started rolling out right at the beginning of pandemic, and this is around the time it was just like this fresh snow that had been untouched, and we were just diving into these books, and this amazing community formed up around it. And so I wanted those feels. I think what the time period did extremely well is it established the Jedi as being exactly who they're supposed to be. The Knights of Good that we don't quite see in the prequels, but it also introduces the cracks in the veneer that you see that kind of leads us to where we end up being. And so that's what my biggest hope was like, I want to see the cracks that lead to the Jedi in the position they were in the Phantom Menace. And I want more Force lore. And, I want to see more lightsabers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
We only got that in Attack of the Clones, really. So, yeah, a bunch of lightsabers.
I mean, my favorite lightsaber fight scene is still episode 1.
Yeah, the Duel of the Fates is a fantastic one.
Yeah. Sarah was making a face, but Sarah...
I made a face when you said it sets up the Jedi as exactly who they are or who they're meant to be. Because if you don't know, take copious notes. I'm a note taker. I think I have 5 pages from these 2 episodes.
Oh, I only have 2. Well,
and
2, kind of.
I think it's either 4 or 5 times in my notes I wrote the following. Are the Jedi ... stupid? There's a lot of moments where I was like, are they? Like, is this like a feature or a bug that they are making a very dumb, obviously dumb, like, you don't need to go look at the wreckage. No one could have survived that. I was like, I almost expect them to look into the screen like it's The Office, where I was like, are you guys like, what's happening? But that's
also, just
what?
Throwing something out there about just stupidity, and it mainly ties in with the tropes of what I think this genre is trying to be. The idea of like it's like, Sarah, no, I saw him die. I was there. And then if Sarah's like, so what happened? How'd he die then? Like, ask the person how they died instead of just blanketly being like, no, I was there.
I literally have that written.
Trust me.
I saw her die. I wrote in my notes, I saw her die, ... Did you?
Yeah. Right.
But my hopes and dreams for the show, I don't know much about the High Republic era. We actually just started reading the kids' books with Evie. We're reading those before bed, mainly because I peer pressured her into buying them. I was like, please, for me, let's read High Republic books. So I've just barely started to dip my toe into it, but I'm a real positive person when it comes to Star Wars, where it's like, man, I just want to be in the world. Right, like I just want to. I'm generally positive about most Star Wars. I mean, I'll nitpick and of course. Yeah. But I'm generally like, not everything that comes out has to be amazing. Like and maybe that's because I do have a 7-year-old. So you know what I'm watching every day? Teen Titans Go. Sometimes it can just be fun.
Yeah,
doesn't always have to be a masterpiece. So I watch a lot of fun movies, a lot of kids movies, a lot of fun shows. So I'm like, if it's fun and I'm interested, and there's lightsabers and the Force, and that's, it doesn't need to be a masterpiece every time.
Yeah. I've missed out on a lot of shows. There was a certain age bracket that I was, where I was like, unless it's a masterpiece, I'm not watching it, like a cartoon. Like, unless it, really resonates. But I feel like I missed out on a lot of good cartoons because of it in this, like, specific, like, block. I didn't give it a chance,
I missed out on a lot of good cartoons because I didn't have cable television. So, I
mean, that's
watch a lot of Doug.
Okay. Well,
yeah,
Doug.
I did watch Gargoyles though. So
okay, yeah, those are 2 ends of the spectrum there. Choco, were you gonna say something?
No, well, now I'm just sad at what happened to Gargoyles as a show.
They need to come back. I know
Gargoyles 97.
Yeah.
No.
Let's make it happen.
It was just funny that O.J. Simpson is the one who ruined Gargoyles.
Is it? Is he? Oh, is it because like the ratings, like his trial was on at the same time?
His trial was on at the same time, and unlike a lot of other shows, they went to put together a very specialized story that goes episode to episode to episode. Wow. And so then they get preempted over and over and over again, and then no one knows what's happening. Yeah. And then the ratings dip, and then it gets canceled.
I think it would be a great honor now that OJ is dead to resurrect Gargoyles. I think that's a circle of life thing.
Yeah, resurrect who you can from the OJ tragedy, you know?
Yeah.
Sorry, I derailed.
I think we can all agree.
Yeah, what are we doing OJ jokes?
We can all agree the biggest tragedy of that is gargoyles.
So here's the thing. So like when I heard that this was happening in the High Republic and everything, and I knew that like the High Republic was an initiative starting from the comics and then going into the books and whatnot for Star Wars, like they were really trying to explore that corner of the timeline. And I was really excited for that. And I read a little bit of the comics, and I dropped off after a point, so I didn't get as far as I wanted to. But I definitely thought that like this time period was ripe for the picking as far as like the Acolyte, and I think that like I was really excited to see them explore that in live action. Something new, because we've been getting a lot of the same time period kind of stuff. From Star Wars.
That's what's been driving me crazy. I feel like a lot of the issues come from us just like pumping that Clone Wars nostalgia dry. I don't get me wrong, I was enjoying it. I loved the Bad Batch, and but I think the Bad Batch was a beautiful end to the Clone Wars. Like I feel like that was them saying goodbye to this era.
Mm-hmm.
Because the more stuff you put in the same era, the more issues you're gonna have,
making things fit
continuity wise, and there's just it was just getting to be too much. Not to mention, if you love Ahsoka, if you love the Rebels crew, all of those characters were new at one point in time, so we need to keep introducing new.
Yeah.
So we don't cannibalize ourselves.
I mean, I'll be honest, like, I grew up with Expanded Universe, right? Like, all those books I used to read when I was younger, I would say I was way more hardcore into Star Wars when I was younger versus now. Like, I love Star Wars. It's just, it was different. In that gap between episode 6 and episode 1, in that gap, that was the Wild West. So High Republic and, like, the Acolyte, by extension, and Andor also, like, I love Andor, so like exploring all these stories of characters we don't know about sounded like a great idea. So I was very excited for this to come out, and I think generally speaking people are positive. Real quick before we start talking about this episode, would you guys give this out of 10? The 2 episodes together? I don't know. Is it weird to rate them both separately? I don't know.
I feel like you gotta rate them together because they were intended to be watched together. Also, if I would just do the first one, the first episode was underwhelming for myself, but it wasn't.
I can't even remember what happens, like what the divide is.
Yeah, I mean, it's just setting everything up. But like, if we jump in, including the second episode, then that brings me up to I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10 right now, because it moves, you know what I mean? Like the story moves, but I don't feel like it's moving like Rise of Skywalker. I feel moved way too fast. There was a whole extra planet in there that we could have done without, and I think we would have been better off for it.
Which planet?
Any of them. They just did too many things. And so we didn't get to live with anything at all. I mean, that's probably the least of the issues. But with this, the story moved, and I was interested in it. I loved the relationship between Amandla and her master. I felt like their chemistry was very good together. I very much disliked that one dude. What's his name?
Which one? Jord?
Yeah.
Yord.
Yes.
Yord, just like, I just want to like shake him. You know what I mean?
He's kind of sketchy. I'm wondering.
The way he said, I made night. Like the phrase "I made night," where she's like, "Oh, you're, you finished your trials," and he said, "Yeah, I made night." I was like, "Ugh."
You made varsity.
Like that. That feels icky in my ears when you say it like that.
It's a rank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like he's a Jedi for the wrong reason. Like he's a Jedi, but he's also a protocol droid at the
Yeah.
same time. Um,
Why
versus
was his shirt off? Is my question.
that
Because
was
that
that
could pay
was
off
weird.
later.
I mean,
I mean, it paid off for me right now. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But
I mean, isn't that? I mean, no, Star Wars doesn't really have like cheesecake, right?
Yeah.
well,
I mean,
also,
Fan service. Yeah.
you know,
I mean, it was reminiscent of the Star Trek scene where he walks in on what's her name changing,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
like
yeah.
they do like the
In
angles and
Into
stuff like that,
Darkness, yeah.
which and it is whatever. It's a weird thing to insert. It's like a breaks from the scene to be like, hey, look at this. And if this felt the same, but like for me, listen, it just felt weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
A little out of place.
Yeah.
The problem also, like just in Star Wars in general, is like we all have these preconceived notions. I think us less so, but like a lot of fans have these preconceived notions of what Star Wars should be, and when it varies outside of that, then people get upset. But like, I commend this show for kind of venturing outside. I think the genre. Am I getting a noir genre? It's noir, right?
Mm-hmm. That's what
It's categorized on like if you Google it, it's categorized as a thriller.
It's very crime noir. Yeah. Yeah. And sure, you have the Force and the blades and all that stuff, but like evil twin coming back, like that's very like it's very noir.
I mean, I got my thoughts on that for sure.
Well, okay. I mean, what are your thoughts? I threw it out there. Let's explore it.
I it's I mean, we're gonna end up in a case where the Jedi did what they thought would be the best for the people involved and overstepped while doing so. So what's his name says, don't erase my mind or whatever it is that you do, which is not something that Jedi do, but now I'm wondering if
they did.
Yeah, so the fire that was there, and one child dying, I don't think any of that actually happened. I think there was an entirely different thing that happened, and they probably thought May was dead, and they probably tried to force her thoughts so that she wouldn't remember it, kind of like a Revan thing where they brain blasted Revan. And so she could never train properly because of lingering thoughts leaking through, or maybe it's because of their connection with each other. Yeah, I mean, I'd think of some of the things like that are bound to pop up, and it's gonna end up being that those four Jedi are in the wrong. They did a thing. They thought it would be in the girl's best interest to not remember this horrible thing that happened, but by lying to them, they've ruined their lives. That's
right, because
anticipating.
The twin fully thought they both thought the other one was dead.
Yeah.
Right. That was really clear. And the fact that when she found, I think Torben was his name, she was like, you can confess to the Jedi Council what happened, or you can literally kill yourself. And he picked to kill himself.
Yeah.
Which is like something very intense happened, because that doesn't seem like a real Jedi thing to do. He's been in a trance for 10 years, I'm assuming, is what they were saying. But then the other thing with Sol, his name?
Sol.
Yeah, Sol, where he said, I watched her die. And it sounded to me, because I made a note of it, and it wasn't until you said the mind erasing thing that I remembered, because I made a note, because the first time he mentions it, he says, nope, she's dead. I watched her, like I saw her die. But then later he said something about like she was presumed dead. And I was like, I thought you watched her die. And then I'm like, oh, he's been like, his story has been, I watched her die for so long, but really she's presumed dead. So like
there could be
there's an overlap.
There could be an overlap. For example, like she's at like the mouth of a cave, and the cave like rubble goes on top, and you're like, I just saw her get crushed by a bunch of boulders. But like, you didn't see her actually.
But he was also the first one when the oh my god, everyone has such confusing names. I sound like
I have all the names. What are
when the green lady goes Vernestra. When she said, "Oh, no one could survive that," he was the first one to be like, "Nope, I bet she's still alive." So he doesn't seem like he seems like a no body, no crime type of. He seems like if you don't see the body, they're not really dead.
Is that a Bob Marley song?
Yeah.
Nobody, no Swift crime.
I feel like that's the line has been, I watched her die type thing. I was training her sister. I had to say her sister was dead. I'm interested in that. But I also feel like I felt like I'm like, is my brain wrong? Because by the second episode, like I'm still definitely interested in like what happened on her home planet. What are they hiding? What did they do? Especially when he took the poison. But I was like, okay, show me who her master is. Like, I'm done with it. Like, everyone's like, who is it? She doesn't even know. And I'm like, just show me. I know it's a guy in a mask.
Is it a guy?
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's a person in a mask and I need to see it. Like, just for my heart, my soul, that I'm like, just give me another scary person in a mask to be obsessed with. Because the law, it's like, stop keeping them from me. I know that they're there. So it seemed like a mask or a helmet and a red lightsaber, and I was like, that's all.
Yeah, we have seen a little bit of it in other things, where he has like little teeth and stuff in there. He almost looks like a xenomorph, mixed with a My Hero Academia villain. But I mean, I do want to know more about him for sure.
Yeah,
I'm almost wondering, how old was Saul when that whole thing happened?
It was like 23 years ago. What did they say?
16. No. So yeah, 16
years ago. 16 years ago, she was 8, and then she's been gone from the Jedi for 6 years. I was writing down all the numbers. Yeah.
I know this is 100 years before the Empire. That's what I caught from the beginning.
Yeah.
So because of that, when he kept saying I watched her die, I started getting Phil Coulson vibes of Tahiti. It's a magical place.
Oh,
those are the vibes it was giving me, of like he just says this thing. Mm-hmm. Does he actually remember it?
Yeah.
Was he someone that got messed with? If you have I don't know how old the other Jedi were supposed to be. Carrie-Anne Moss is
she
senior,
human,
ageless.
I mean, she's always incredible, but
Vernestra is old, because Vernestra
is like 200 at this point in time.
Oh, really? Wait. Okay. I have a couple of questions, but first, before we get into that, I want to shout out a couple people in the chat. I want to shout out Rainan R or Renan R on YouTube, who says, "Was nothing learned from the Nile?" The Nihil Nile, right? Is that how's it pronounced? Nile?
Yeah.
Like nihilism? Nile. Yeah, okay. From One Direction, Nile. I think this is his name. How long ago was the High Republic?
How long ago was One Republic?
Yeah, One Republic, One Direction, High Republic. I'm having a stroke.
Okay. So and I'll there's a couple things I suppose I'll have to double check. But so the High Republic represents like this kind of Wild West expansionary period.
Yeah.
And so it spans a long period of time. I want to say that what is considered High Republic spans about 350 years. So the High Republic Phase 1 books are like 100 years before this show. And so Vernestra is Mary Allen's when are therefore sensitive live a long time.
Is that Vernestra in my background?
Yes.
Oh, because I was gonna ask which of these characters have been seen before?
Yeah, Vernestra is the only one that we've seen.
Is that not Kelnaka or whoever?
That is Buraga Yagaberry.
Okay.
Different Wookiee.
Okay, I'm sorry.
How dare you?
Wookiees also live a super long time, so we could run into them. But so yeah, there is a long time jump between phase 1 and the show, and then phase 2 of the High Republic was another 150 years before phase 1.
Oh, okay.
And so it spans a long period of time.
Okay. But the Nile are the villains in the first phase, 100 years before this. Okay. I also wanted to shout out Aries 13, who's on our Twitch chat. And just so everybody knows, our Twitch chat is our main chat, at least for now. But we do have YouTube and Twitch, so pick your poison. Aries 13, thank you so much. Saying great start to the show. We enjoyed it. Almost went to AMC early showing yesterday. More lightsabers is a good ask, because that was back when we were talking about more lightsabers. Aries 13 also says, what a teacher. What a teacher. Wait, like...
I think that was about me criticizing them for making bad decisions.
Oh, okay.
No.
Priscilla called them stupid twice while watching. That's Aries 13's wife. Yes, they were doing some stupid stuff. The other youngling mentioned the fire while meditating might be a common tactic. Is that a thing? They mentioned the fire a couple of times?
So in the High Republic, everyone views the Force differently. So some people will look at it as if it is in a fathomless, depth ocean. And then you have other characters that'll look at it and see a raging fire. And so I think that's more of what a reference it was to, and it wasn't necessarily like fire is bad.
Rather, you're drawing the energy from it? Is that what it is? You're drawing the energy from the fire? Is that kind of their...
Yes, specifically there's a character named he's my favorite character in the High Republic, and his name is not coming to me. Loden Greatstorm's Padawan. Anyways, he sees as a fire, and it's like intensity when he's digging deep. It's like a flame that's getting more intense and larger and stuff like that. But I think so. I don't think that was like supposed to be scary that the little girl saw it that way, but I do think that it's supposed to be reminiscent of his experience dealing with that fire.
I do like the way that scene played out, because in the trailer that scene was like, also there's bad guys, but then it was a much more natural. He's like, yeah, it is something vast like a fire that can grow quickly, and I was like, okay, I like that it took a natural. It wasn't like fire.
Get her.
I do have one thing to say about it. I have to say something.
Yeah.
I try not to nitpick. I'm not there's bricks in Star Wars person. However, can a fire exist on the outside of a ship?
I had that same exact nitpick.
That's not a thing that could happen, right?
You're talking about when the mech necks are on the outside?
Yeah, when the mech necks are on the outside and something actively catches on fire and there's flames in space.
So I'm just going to chalk it up to that there's some... Wait, they weren't close to...
They were repairing...
right?
No, and they were repairing the shield, so there wasn't a shield around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was trying to... my mind just went to... I don't actually know where they are. But
maybe
also...
there's a light atmosphere? Wherever they are?
Which still doesn't quite work, because a light atmosphere would just make it super difficult for there to be a fire.
Yeah.
Now I suppose it would be possible for, if fire is something igniting inside of this tube and it's spewing out and then being extinguished
inside. Yeah.
But I don't think it would look like that anyways. Yeah. So no, I had the same problem.
I think it's a force ghost of some sort. You know, that manifests itself as fire. So it's magic. It's magic.
I think it was Adele. Yeah, he's like, there's a fire. Yeah.
I like the mech neck thing. I think I had the same feeling when I was watching Solo, and I was like, space train, and they had the trains, and I was like, that's a cool thing that I know is in Star Wars now. where it's like, okay, there's a group of people that do the job that's usually so dangerous they only have droids do it. And I was like, that's a cool new thing that I didn't know existed that I like. And I like the name. I like mechnics.
I like mechnics. I also think that like the suits remind me of Star Trek. Those the spacesuits that they use. Star Trek has one of them when they go into the outside of the Enterprise. It looks a lot like that. So you know,
I like the inner suit that they wear, and that just made me think of Battlestar, of like cruising around inside the ship, the little vests and stuff.
Oh yeah. Okay, let's rewind, because the first scene we see in episode 1 is Carrie-Anne Moss on Ueda, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Master Indara is on Ueda, and suddenly out of the blue, I was thrown off by the twin thing. I was like, I'm a little confused on what's going on here. She challenges her to a fight, then she fights, blah, blah, blah. Carrie-Anne Moss dies. BCL Aries on Instagram says, seriously, they're going to do Carrie-Anne Moss like that?
I wrote, we have to figure out what a fatal wound is in Star Wars. Because not that I ever want Sabine Wren. I don't want anything bad to happen to her. But she got stabbed through the gut with a lightsaber and was fine. And Carrie-Anne Moss got hit with one singular small blade.
The one very small dagger.
He's so dead. Immediately dead. Seems, you know, it seems like a plot armor or lack of plot armor, you know. Maybe she used the Force to guide it straight into her heart.
Maybe there's a poison.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say. The placement of that knife was like in her heart. You know what I mean? So like, there's certain things it's like I'm fine with or not fine with. When Qui-Gon got stabbed, it like goes through his spine, so that kind of makes sense. But then Maul also got cut in half, and
that went
came
through
back.
his spine.
Yeah, and so like
it went around.
Well, you know, Sabine, it was kind of off center to the side, and then she did get picked up immediately for medical attention. So I'm like, okay, but I do want them to stop that. I feel like though it was masking another problem. It was masking a problem with just by creating another problem, because previously, I mean, I love Revenge. I love Return of the Jedi, but Palpatine being beaten by picking him up and tossing him is weird. You know.
Wait, why wouldn't that beat him? He just falls down the chute, right?
I feel like someone like Palpatine might have some sort of defense against being casually picked up. I don't know. It just didn't.
We watched like 3 times in this very episode someone stop someone from falling with the Force. So the idea that he could just fall.
Yeah.
And we've seen him do the jump spin.
Yeah. So yeah. Like, why did he just go full M. Bison, like Psycho Crusher, and spin out of it? I don't know.
But I think like we bend over backwards as fans, because like I get it. We are on the positive side of fandom, where it's like, yeah, sure, we have like critiques and whatnot, but like generally speaking, like we tend to be not malicious, you know, not looking for things to hate, but rather if you dislike something, that's fine. But because we're on this side, I feel like sometimes we bend over backward, and I was just doing it right now, trying to like figure out how. I just think in general, Star Wars doesn't have anyone figuring out the continuity of, not the plot continuity, but just the feat continuity.
But the physics.
Yeah. I just don't think they have any, and at this point, does it matter? I don't know.
It's like, if we start looking at it now, the whole thing falls apart. Because yes, I do try to be as fair. When I try to be fair to it, I try to say, would this have bothered me if this happened in the original trilogy, or if this happened in the prequel trilogy? Because when I watch those, I see the same, if not worse, stuff happening. And so I'm like, can I get mad at it now? It was camp then. Is it not allowed to be camp now? I'm curious, actually, how do you guys think about that? if something, A New Hope has Han Solo chasing a bunch of stormtroopers, and they have guns and stuff, and they're out like and it's funny,
Yeah.
it's a
And he comes
hilarious
running
scene.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's shoulder charges his move in Battlefront 3.
Yeah.
Like I love that, but that's camp, and that's kind of stupid slapstick type thing to
Yeah.
happen in there. Should that consideration be in modern Star Wars, or has it elevated itself that it needs to be taken more serious than George Lucas did?
I think it's all about the tone of the particular show and how serious it takes itself in the show. Because, like, for me, the very beginning, the first thing I noticed when it flashed on screen is it was like TV 14 extreme violence, is what it said. And maybe that was just Disney overstating it. But it was like, there was not anything in that show that I would have categorized as extreme violence, right? And it's one of those things for me of like, I thought the tone of the show would have lent itself more to like, all right, you got the dagger in the heart, and then she like walked by her, and I was like expecting her to do like a final like, stab, like finish her off type of thing.
Yeah.
That seemed like the tone that the show, the tone that the show might be going for, right? Like almost the way that Andor was. Like Andor is the kind of show that's like, okay, they're gonna shoot them in the face, right? Like that's gonna be
yes.
That's the
Stormtroopers are terrifying in Andor.
Yeah,
I love Andor and so I think much.
It's fucking good. I think not knowing what the tone of the show was yet, I think was, and like having that poster with like the blood and the lightsaber, I thought it was just gonna be a little bit grittier with it, because it seemed like that's what they wanted me to think going into it. And because of that, I was kind of like, okay, I expected that to be a little bit more brutal fight. I'm not, but again, I'm not like, and that's why Star Wars is garbage now, right? I agree, Dimithri, like you were saying, we lean more on the positive side. So like, saying I don't think there would be fire outside on that ship is like, I thought that was a silly thing that happened. But I'm not like, and that's why I give the show 0 out of 10. How could Kathleen Kennedy miss that? Like that kind of stuff. Like and there's moments in here where I was like, that seemed like a stupid decision that the Jedi just made. And it's like, maybe that's a feature of the show, is that the Jedi don't always make the best decisions. And there's inept Jedi. Yeah. Like when I think we're used to, sorry, I'm going off on a tangent now. We're used to Jedi being such a rare thing, I think, in the time of the Skywalker saga. But like in the High Republic, there's more Jedi, so it's a wider net. So there are some that are dumb, like the guy that was supposed to be watching Jason Mendoza. I don't know what his Kai, him. We're supposed to be watching him. Kimir. We're supposed to be
IMIR.
Supposed to be watching him, and then just like stop to talk to a girl, and then what? We lost him. It's like, yeah, there's gonna be incompetent Jedi.
And that's something that Leslie Headland has actually talked about is in this show. In the original trilogy, the Empire is the big bloated, organization that has all the cracks in it because of its size. And she said, if that's the case, this turns out on its head, where that's the Jedi in this show.
Yeah.
And I think it does that well, because it's like Jocasta knew in Attack of the Clones. Well, if it's not in the archives, it doesn't exist. And you're like, that's not how that works. Like, that's not.
Growing up with the expanded universe, the Jedi to me were all like superheroes, like the new Jedi Order and all that, and you can like shoot a Star Destroyer down with the Force from the top of the pyramid, and like you can do all that stuff, right? And it was about like bringing together that super team, that Ocean's 11 of like new Jedi to like be superheroes for the galaxy. And that was like the vibe of the expanded universe to me. But then as I saw the prequels,
it was wild.
I disliked the Jedi. And I think I continue to dislike the Jedi as a whole, as an institution. That's just me. But mostly because like nobody's perfect, right? And so like I think that these Jedi in the High Republic, they've gotten a little comfortable like they were really comfortable in the prequels, right? Where they were like, nothing can touch us, and then like Palpatine's doing his stuff. But I think in this, they're also very like, I don't know. Some of them don't have to be smart. The bar is very low.
Yeah, the like
Yeah.
someone broke into the Jedi Temple and then he just walks in and goes, hmm? And then walks out. And I'm like, whoa, are we not taking this more seriously?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's
And that's because they feel untouchable, and that's the problem is I mean that's what Palpatine ultimately exploits is they failed to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
It was a new war. They had no idea what was happening.
And
They
they were
failed to adapt.
manipulated.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Question. In the beginning, when Jord is his name?
Yord.
Yord.
For some, because I'm thinking FJORD, like a fjord. So now I'm getting them all mixed up. What is his name? Yord. Okay.
Yeah.
Yord sucks.
Yord. Okay. Yord, when he pops into the Nemoidian ship and he puts his hand up, were they scared of the Jedi? Because you know how like it seemed like he was going to extract information or whatever,
yeah.
right? But then the female, I'm assuming she was female, was like, Osha's in sub-level, blah, blah, blah. Like, she says it before anything even happens.
Yeah, I think she's just smarter and, like, doesn't want trouble with them.
It seems
like we don't want to get on the Jedi's bad side type of thing. Not like I'm scared this Jedi is going to kill us, but, like, we don't want to seem uncooperative with the Jedi. So I do think there was a little bit of fear. Not like terror.
Probably fear. I mostly felt like the other Nemoidian was like, they're like, hey, we don't employ them, and he's like, why are you lying? What is the benefit? Do you just do it? Is that just automatic? And she's probably like, yeah, he's a pathological liar. We hire him. I'm like, I don't know what his problem is.
Yeah. I mean, I have a theory, but I'll wait till I throw out some theories.
And then we get the chip. Yeah, I think the first like proper Jedi we get is Yord, and he seems like such a dick. Like,
yeah,
he is a real jock. He's sitting on her bed, like that's incredibly rude. There's just something about the way he's wearing like the cloak that is like, oh, you look like such a douchebag. Yeah, he does. Yeah, the I made night when he's doing, and then when he's doing the chit chat with her, happy Pride Month. We got lesbian moms in Star Wars.
Wait, what?
He said your mother's, your sister, your whole family was lost in the fire. Your mother's your sister.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. He definitely said it.
Yep.
So after seeing the mark on the girl's head, I assumed, because I do know Jodie Turner-Smith's character is going to be a witch from a coven of witches, and so I didn't know if they meant that or that they come from an offshoot of this coven or something like that. But I mean, both could also apply.
Okay.
Knowing Leslie Headland is probably the first, though. You're probably right.
And then we see Tassi Loa, but we don't know anything about her, right? She's not a...
No.
Okay. She had cool makeup.
Yeah, she looked cool.
I
like seeing more aliens.
I liked the line. I don't know if, I think it sounds like something Soul would have said, that attachments to those we lost are the hardest to let go. I thought he had some real bangers, and that was one of them. I really liked that the kind of like the throughput of grief and the way that grief affects us, and this anger that she feels is actually just grief. I really liked that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is the overall, like as a Jedi, if you are trying to defend the galaxy, you have to also make sure that you don't want to end up seeing the forest and not seeing trees, you know. Um, and so and that's what bothers me about Yord is he seems to be the character who can only think of the forest and the trees mean nothing to him, and so he ends up in a situation where he has zero empathy for actual people and is only interested in the system that helps the people, which ends up hurting individuals in the process, and he doesn't care.
All right, I'm going to throw
Or
out my theory.
not doesn't care, it doesn't notice.
I'm going to throw out my theory right now. Here's a question that I'll pose to you guys before I get to my theory. Do we think that Sith Master is somebody we know? Are we setting up for a reveal?
No, I don't think so.
Because I'm going to also say, what if it's Yord?
Then I will love him as a character, and this would be all actually really cool.
Because there's small things.
That's a real Kylo Ren, Matt the radar technician fake out. He's really going all the way into dweeb, like to fake it out.
Yeah, but it's the ultimate version of weaponized incompetence, you know?
I mean, it's similar to Darth Jar Jar, that whole thing.
What if it is Darth Jar? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a reveal. Not him, but it could be anyone. Something's going on.
Interesting.
It's a very noir thing, right?
You think so? I feel like so for you, it's like there has to be something going on with Yord beyond he's just kind of because he does have the kind of like meathead.
I think there'll be some exploration of him down the line, yes.
Yeah. He reminds me a lot of the movie Nimona, was one of my favorite movies. That there is a knight kind of like that. That he keeps when he said I made knight, like I can't shake the Nimona, because that's the whole thing too, is these knights are told that they're protecting something, but it wasn't ever really a threat. Like it's kind of like they have the best intentions, but they're really like fighting for the wrong thing type of deal. Oh my gosh, Nimona is so good. But it's got that kind of thing, that kind of like I'm a knight, like I did it type of thing. That's the energy that he brings.
I would love if they leaned into the noir aspect for this whole thing, the twists and turns that come with like betrayal, and we already have an evil twin, right? Like we have these things. I think it would be a waste not to have a reveal for the master.
Yeah. I feel like I on the whole am kind of lukewarm on these first two episodes. I didn't love them. I was a little bit bored at times, but I did see them doing like they do know what they're doing, because there was a moment when the ship was crashing where she's trying to get Pip, and first of all-time droid again, love a droid, and she's trying to get him, and she's trying to grab him with the Force, and she can't do it, and I'm like, she can't even grab her droid with the Force. That wasn't her.
Yeah,
she didn't do it. She can't use the Force, like she's out of practice with the Force. So that came way before the reveal that you had a twin sister who was all right. That was way before it. It was like, oh, there was already no way could she have killed a Jedi Master. She can't even use the Force to pull the droid to herself.
Well, I was also thinking
they're clearly laying out breadcrumbs.
But I thought they were playing around with time. Like, at what point is this and this? Like, these scenes could have been out of order. And then I also thought, what if... I mean, I thought many different things along the way. Like, are they going to pull a triple reveal where we think they're twins, but it turns out it was her the whole time? But now we know they're not. But, like, there was a point where we're like, we don't see them in the same room together. There could have been, you know, a Christopher Nolan kind of...
We do now.
You know.
We have by the end of the episode.
Yeah.
By the end of the second episode.
Yeah. So I'm like...
Also, again, is there not a protocol that if one of your prisoners is a droid, that he can't tap into the droids that are piloting your ship?
The guy looked like...
Turn him off. What is happening here? He just went boop, 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 and then turned the pilots off. Like, but I did love that the pilots turned into chairs.
Yeah, That was really
That
cool.
almost made me not mad about yeah, I wrote surely someone would have thought of that. Right? Like that was real dumb. That was a little frustrating, but that's kind of the thing for me is like all the complaints I have are relatively nitpicky like that of like
Again, maybe that's the point, right? That the Jedi are just sloppy.
yeah.
You know? Um
What they have the luxury of being sloppy.
Yeah,
right.
they don't even think to turn the criminal with the droid's head off, right?
Right.
Yeah. Well, that I mean, also that wasn't like the ship wasn't related to the Jedi though. That was Republic transport and all that stuff. They arrest
Oh,
the criminal and then send them to the Republic.
Okay.
The Republic's gonna do
What the
this.
Republic does.
Yeah.
Shout out to Mr. Plow. What's up to Mr. Plow out there? Mr. Plow's just throwing out puns like Better Call Saul and May the 4th. Mr. Plow.
I kept saying it's gonna be May.
Well, I also thought, just a side note, is like out of all the possible like random alien names they can come up with, why do they sometimes double up in Star Wars? I don't like it. So remember Crate, like, right, the planet of Crate, and then there's the Crate Dragon, right, on Tatooine, and like, why are they both called Crate? Also, we get Boonta. We get the word Boonta in episode 2. Boonta is a poison. I believe Boonta's the name of the poison, but then there's Boonta's Eve. The Boonta's Eve pod race. It's like
spelled different, but yeah, no, it's yeah.
I guess it's like having the Christmas poison, like, you know.
Well, also, I mean, the whole reason that Rex is named Rex is because George Lucas was like, wait a second, we have Anakin, Ahsoka, it would have been Alpha, was a clone, and with an R2, like verbally they're all A names. So we gotta change this, and that's why he's Rex instead. Yeah, that I don't know. I think it's all afterthought.
There's a planet called Karlak, and it just reminds me of Sarlacc. But
Made me think of Baldur's Gate 3. I got happy.
Yep.
Is there a place called Karlak?
Character.
Oh, okay.
Karlak is best.
the guy on the transport reminded me of Gearhead from Rick and Morty. The guy who you know, they talk I think Vernestra talks about political enemies when she has a talk with Soul. She was like, we can't let this get out because our political enemies might take advantage.
That was actually my biggest complaint is, and obviously there's been a long time in between this and where we last see her, but the way she spoke, it didn't feel like Vernestra. I mean, Vernestra straight up like Vernestra Rowe is the youngest person to become a knight like in the Jedi history, and then like there was another person, a Padawan, whose master died, and then she took him. So she had a Padawan. They were like nearly the same age, and it's a whole thing. She's super studious. She was the best. She was one of the greatest examples of a Jedi for the young people. And then all the crap hits the fan, and she straight up dips. Like she leaves the Jedi for a couple years. Phase 3 of the High Republic is like a short time period after phase 1 ends. And she's just like had just been chilling on this planet because she's like, I don't want to deal with this mess anymore, and I have a hard time reconciling the two. But it's not a problem considering it's still like a very long time in between. That it was just a surprising thing to hear
that she's like a company woman.
To hear talk about their political enemies. That's she just never struck me as that type.
Who are their political enemies at this time? Just people who dislike the Jedi, or is there someone specific?
There's
Palpatine's not born yet, right? He's not 100.
No, Palpatine's not born yet, but one of my friends on Master Allen, I think, well, someone in his comments said it the best, that the Jedi are essentially firefighters in a republic that refuses to arrest the arsonists. So like everything that they're dealing with is something that someone else should have already dealt with. But now it's hit a catastrophic level.
Yeah.
And so because of that, there is always odd political intrigue and stuff going on, because we see this in Tales of the Jedi, right? Where you have a corrupt senator who's bleeding his people dry, and he bleeds them dry so badly that they kidnap his son. And then he gets the Jedi involved because now his son, he's just like a person whose son is kidnapped. So of course they're going to help, but he's using them politically,
right,
even though they're just doing their thing. So I think those things kind of tie in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm kind of with Sarah. Like I'm a little underwhelmed by this. Is that what you said, Sarah? Am I putting words in your mouth?
Yeah. No, I didn't say underwhelmed. I said
underwhelmed.
Did you say it? Okay.
I said lukewarm, where it's
Okay.
like
Unintended?
Yeah. It didn't grab me, right? Like I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm interested. I feel like I don't really care about any of these people is my big problem.
Mm-hmm.
Where I was like, I don't terribly care about any of them, which is rough. Because I feel like, and I always do this, not to talk about Andor too much, but I was like, I care so deeply about all the characters in Andor. And it's like, of course I care deeply about Cassian, because I have since the moment his beautiful face graced the screen. But I also immediately cared about Marva and like all the other characters in there. So I like Brasso. Oh,
which one's Brasso? Andy Serkis?
If you see a person and you're like, I just want to hug them.
He's the one that smacks the Imperial officer in the face with
the
Marva's funeral.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like trying, and Soul is probably the one that I care about the most at this point. I'm really liking him.
Yeah.
I like his kind of like keep a cool exterior, but like you can tell he cares really deeply. I think that actor is doing a delightful job. I love him. He's doing great. And then of course, my boy, Manny.
I liked his character because
I
really like his character.
I'm so delighted that he's like a comic relief character, because there's no way if he was like trying to be really serious. Like he's a drug dealer. Like he's a drug dealer, gun runner for the Hutt's supplier. Like
I thought
that's what he says.
Yeah, I think he does odd jobs. I think he's the butler essentially, right? He's the Alfred Pennyworth. He can do a bunch of stuff to support the mission, right? Like that's what I got. But
he's also given off like just the most stoner vibes. Like he is, he's real. He's delightful. It's one of those where like I would have been happy to see like a really serious turn from him and be like, oh, Jason Mendoza can act, Yeah. But I'm a little bit more delighted that he's kind of a lighthearted character who I really enjoyed.
I think he's sinister.
Although I
think he's sinister underneath.
That's what I get. He plays it loose, and then you anger him, and he's like, yeah. Because May comes at him with knives from the secret, and he's got hands too, But who knows? Maybe that means that the master is Blake Bortles. That's
Bortles.
What's Bortles? What?
Have you never watched The Good Place?
Oh yeah, I have. But who? I've only seen it once. The whole
I was gonna say clearly not 27 times.
No.
Like I have it playing like in the background of everything I do in my life.
Yeah.
It's the player for the Jacksonville Jaguars that he's obsessed with.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm so glad I filled myself in on
I wrote down when she crashed the ship, I wrote love a snowy planet. I always love a snow planet. And the thing that her sister says to her in the vision, you're with me, I'm with you, always one but born as two, as above sit the stars and below lies the sea. I give you you and you give me. I like rewound it to write it down because I was like,
I didn't know it was a whole thing. I
significant.
Just knew it was snippets.
Yeah. Because they say it every time they say something and it's in quotes in the subtitles. I'm like, I should write that down.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Just it's like the TV version of like, I wrote it on the PowerPoint. You should probably take notes on it. I'm like, if it's in quotes, I should probably write it down. So I wrote that down, and then I wrote down what the Sith question mark guy says at the end.
When the little girl's eyes turn black and she's like, "I'll kill them all," I was like, no bueno.
Oh, I love it. I love an evil child.
It was a great moment.
By the way, does Pip transforms, right? Like it turns into different things?
Yeah, you can like.
But when Pip's here, is that just the top part of Pip?
Yeah, I think he's poking out of her pocket.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
I eagerly await the 3D print files.
I want to
make him so fast. Make him so fast.
I love intriguing new droids. Like droids that are, that are designed differently. I love them. I want to take a moment to roast the fuck out of Torben and his just the way he looks, because was that a real hair and wig?
That's the worst wig. That's the worst wig I've ever seen, is what that is.
He looked
electrocuted.
he
looked like he's seen some stuff. So they got that right, at least.
Like, that's a wig that I would have styled. Like, if I tried to style a wig, that's what it looks like. I'm like trying my best to make it stand up straight, and it's just not.
His force shield thing felt weird as well. It's like I didn't know this was a thing. It felt like Rock Lee fighting Gara.
What's that from? I don't know the reference.
From Naruto.
Oh,
okay,
sorry. I just think he looked like younger than he's portrayed, which makes me think that maybe there's a flashback. There has to be a flashback. We're getting like Carrie-Anne Moss just in that one scene. There has to be a flashback, right? But that guy looked like he was doing like a high school production of West Wing, and he was playing Bradley Whitford's character. You know what I'm talking about?
That is exactly what he looks like.
Thank you for getting that reference. Thank you. I like how I didn't understand the Naruto reference, and then I come at you with the Bradley Whitford in West Wing reference.
West Wing.
Yeah. Sorry. So there has to be a flashback, right? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah, we have to see what happens on that planet.
And that guy's probably going to have like a full head of hair and just be young, because that guy looked like he had old age makeup.
Maybe his hair is going to get singed off in the fire, and that's why it looks like that.
He doesn't have any bird marks. It's just a receding hairline.
He has a big scar on his face.
Yeah, that's true. But you don't walk up to every like man in real life with like a receding hairline being like, "I'm so sorry you got caught in that fire."
No, I mean like the tops of his hair. He had like
it looked like he was styled by a blowtorch.
Like split ends for days.
Who is this guy? There has to be more. There has to be more.
There's a podcast I listen to that does like a wig watch. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait for wig watch on that. They're gonna lose it. So bad.
There has to be another story, right? Like we're trying to figure out like what is this? What exactly happened? And I don't know. I don't think we have enough information, right?
Well, yeah, because she's killed 2 of the Jedi out of the 4. We know, and then she's on her way to the. Yeah, she's on her way to the Wookiee. We have the 4th one with us, so like that plot line can only go so far. I mean, she's gonna go to the Wookiee the next episode, and then Like that plot line is only going to be 3 episodes long. I can't imagine unless they hit a.
And that's actually what has me excited. That's why I said this. The plot's moving because that's done next episode, and they have to introduce more. There has to be more intrigue, and I'm happy because it kind of bugs me when like they set it up so that the whole season is just like a bunch of fetch quests, you know, and yeah,
like Ahsoka.
Yeah, I mean,
the more I think about Ahsoka, the more happy I was that we didn't do an after show for it. Like, kind of like Secret Invasion happened and then Ahsoka happened like back to back, and I'm like, oh, this is for the better. I wasn't a fan.
There was a couple really good conversations inside of Secret Invasion, and but the actual story didn't do anything. And I just picture Amelia Clark flexing her.
Listen, I on the whole didn't love Ahsoka, but I got to see the Ghost in live action. I got my boy Chop. I got
Ezra.
Sabine. I got Ezra. We got Iman, who like I think really is Ezra. He's a delightful addition to the world of Star Wars. And I got what do they call it? Wolf Wren. I just the that ship is like, if nothing else comes from Ahsoka, Shin Hati and Sabine Wren and the pairing that launched 1,000 fics. It's worth it for me. That also, on the whole is worth it.
Seeing Hayden back was also great. It did some stuff, but overall, my big problem with it is it felt like they gave us I feel like I've said breadcrumbs a lot in this episode, but they gave us breadcrumbs of a story and made us write the story in our own heads rather than them giving us a story.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff, like a lot of conversations that happen. My biggest thing is when a conversation happens off screen, like the conversation of, hey, Ezra, you sacrificed everything to get rid of Thrawn and we just found a way to bring him back to the galaxy. Like that happened off screen. But I'm not here to complain about Ahsoka. I'm here to say, it took them into the middle of episode 2 to say that Padawan with the horns, to say her name. They did not say her name.
Jackie?
Until like my 4th page of them.
Yeah, I was paying attention, and that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. They did.
I felt like he called her by name when she first walked in, but
because I was rewinding.
He calls her Padawan.
Yeah. It's
Yord that calls her Jackie.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna call her Jackie because that's also maybe it's the Pride Month in the air, but I'm better company than a droid and way more flexible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, that was a thirsty
like,
comment.
Okay.
Listen, I played Mass Effect. When he said, I had Reach, she was flexible. Like we know what's going on.
I was like, let's make it happen.
Like
if people are already saying it's woke, like why not just do that? Like why not just lean in? Let's just make it happen.
No. Yeah. Shout out to Otaku Gakuto saying live action Clone Wars, which I assume is talking about what Ahsoka gave us. We got some live action Clone Wars stuff, Oh, Hello Jer says that's Cap. Hello Jer on YouTube. He says, "What is it, Jackie, when she first walks into the temple training room?" Can we get a rewind on that?
Yes, that's what I was thinking of. That's what I was thinking of.
I didn't see that at all when I rewound it, but okay.
She walks in, and before she even says anything,
okay,
that's what he said.
Okay, maybe I didn't register it because it was a bizarre name in my ear. But thank you for the correction. I appreciate
it. Was Fez from that 70s show, Yaki.
I'm like, okay.
Well, I mean, they say Vernestra like 12 times in one scene, so I would hope that they said Jackie's name. Let's see. I'm trying to see what there is to talk about before we get going. Yord. Yes.
You're
Yord.
getting it. Yeah.
He says, I have a bad feeling about this. Nothing bad happens. Like, did we just waste? Like, what happens with that? Like, she just shows up, right? May shows up. And that's the bad feeling about it?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that line is supposed to foreshadow something big happening, right? But it's really May shows up and doesn't do anything.
I think they just said it for everyone that was playing bingo. Everyone that was doing the Star Wars bingo at home, watching along.
They say it because you have to say it.
But like, you say it before something big happens, right?
Yes.
This wasn't that big.
I have to come back to... Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, it works out okay. It's the asteroid field, right?
Yeah.
I got a real Obi-Wan facing down Vader in A New Hope vibes when he was like, no, I'll go face her. I was like, if he dies right now, I'm be so mad. And I'm glad he didn't, but I was really getting that vibe. Chimere. Or
I don't know.
I think it's Kai.
Chimere.
Is it Kai?
Chimere.
Okay.
Because I wrote it phonetically because I have a student named Kai. Okay. So I wrote Chimere.
I just saw how it was written, but yeah.
I just wrote down Bortles. He says he has a quote that I also thought was amazing. He says, when he's talking about him, he said about the Jedi, he says, like every Jedi, he only thinks he found peace. And I was like, okay, I like that. Like, they're obviously working. He's in cahoots with with our Sith. He only thinks he found peace. Like, that's like a good criticism of the Jedi. Like, he thinks they've brainwashed themselves into thinking they found peace, but they haven't really. And then he says, like, he needs what only you can give him, which is absolution. And I was like, that's good. Which, again, I think leads to that he's, putting on the Jason Mendoza of it all, but he's definitely got something deeper going on.
Yeah, there's something way more sinister.
I mean, he because in that he also, starts to say peace is a lie, right? Which is the first part of the Sith code.
Oh, okay. I have another theory that he is the Sith master and he's pretending to be the underling.
I mean, I had that thought as well.
Okay, now you're just copying me.
No. As soon as they said you don't even know who he is, then I was like, okay. Because other than that, I just feel like you would probably sense him being familiar in the Force. But yeah, that was the first thing I was operating under.
Yeah, interesting. And then final scene, we get Kofar with Kelnaka on Kofar in exile. Did he exile himself out of shame?
Looks
is
like
that
it.
kind of what the thing is?
Yeah, what does it say above his house?
I'd have to go back.
You didn't already translate it?
No,
like,
sadly.
Warning guard dog
But-
on duty.
So we have I mean, two main things. So the other person was said to have taken the bearish vow, and that's something that Kelnaka could also be doing as well.
I wrote that down to ask you about because I don't know what that is. What is the bearish? What's the bearish vow?
Yeah, I mean, it's people who essentially leave the Jedi organization in order to just be one with the Force, become a monk on a hill somewhere, and like, it's basically saying I'm quitting, but I'm still a Jedi. I just I'm just not doing this, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like there's that. There's also way seekers where they're like, I am stepping out of the organization of the Jedi. I'm gonna do my own thing, but I'm still a Jedi. That's another thing that they do, but they still end up not having the same resources because they're not part of the organization anymore.
Right. All right. So then as we close this up, what are our ideas, theories about what's to come? This is an 8 episodes total? Is it 8 episodes for the season?
I can't remember.
Okay. So I think it's 8 episodes. So it's 7 weeks. Yeah, it's 7 weeks. So it's 8 episodes.
So
as far as I remember.
If I'm understanding it, whoever May's master is wants her to kill the last Jedi Master like without a weapon. Like that's an important part of the initiation, is she has to kill one without a weapon.
Just one. It doesn't matter which one, right?
Him, yeah, when she kills him with the poison, she tells Bortles, she says,
Man, we don't have to tell the
don't
master
tell him about this. Yeah, like it's not like she wasn't supposed to resort to poison. Like, don't tell him about it. And then when he comes back, when it's Asha pretending to be her, he's like, "Oh, you did it without a weapon." And then he gets real close to her face and does the, "You look just like her." I was like, "Oh." There was a lot of I found that in episode 2, the character to character interactions were a lot more like and this is going to sound dumb because that's what happens in every, like, they have to introduce everyone, but like the interplay between the characters, especially what's going on with May and Asha, and I think it's Osha, but I keep saying Asha because I think that's the character in Wish.
I don't know.
Yeah, don't watch it. It's bad. And
Osha
and Kai, Osha. The safety organization.
Yeah.
And Jason Mendoza, their interplay, like they've got something happening. I'm excited to see where he goes. I liked when she was fighting with Saul and he says, "You've misunderstood the Jedi arts." I was like, that goes hard. I liked that. I like, but we also know there's a little bit of good left in her because she didn't kill his kid showed up, right? So we know that she can be redeemed, or at least there's a little bit of good left in her. So yeah, given that we can only last one more episode with the "I'm on a hunt to kill Jedi Masters."
Yeah. Also,
I don't really know where we're going next.
I have a theory.
Where we're going next?
I don't think Soul is part of the 4. They just assumed he's part of the 4, but she doesn't try to kill him. She doesn't play it off as like he's one of her hits when they fight.
She doesn't give him the speech.
I don't think Soul is part of the 4.
She doesn't give him the speech, but it sounded like she had a specific order that she had to kill them in. That's what I kind of got. But
this reminds me of Bad Boys 3, which I'm rewatching because Bad Boys 4 comes out this week. And so Bad Boys 3 has that plot. So take that for what you will.
Bad Boys for life. Have
you seen the TikTok where they're like, "Yes, we should have called the 4th one For Life. We get it."
It's not too late. Reprint the poster.
No, I think where we're going to go is that at that point in time, we're going to get the confrontation that of sister to sister where they're actually going to talk. And we're going to have Osha leave with May. And so it's going to be the Jedi trying to chase them both down.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying this specifically because Leslie hasn't talked about Frozen as an inspiration, because it was the sisterly love that was the glue that fixed the problem. Not, and I can imagine her being a lesbian, having a Prince Charming save the day all the time. Probably didn't connect, but so I think that's really going to be the focus here, is the sisters connecting and healing together in order to move forward. But they're going to need some antagonists. I think once they come together, it's going to put her at odds. It's going to put May at odds with her master and with Kymer. And then it's also going to make her separate from the Jedi, and they're not going to trust her as well. So both sides are going to be after him.
She did aggressively miss her with that blaster. I know it was just a stun. Yeah. It appeared to be a stun, but didn't really get close at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a bit, I think, of letting her go.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Keimer is the master and that May comes over to go, kind of breaks from the master and Yord goes over. I'm just throwing stuff out there, seeing what sticks. I'm just saying I don't trust Yord.
I think you're just saying Yord a lot so you can get used to how it feels when you say it. I'm getting it because my daughter and I watch Spy Family and their names are Yor and Lloyd, so it's like Yord.
When Harry met,
fantastic show. You should watch it. To be true,
delightful.
Something interesting that Mr. Plow brought up is that maybe they're drawing out of like a dyad pool, and so when one accesses the Force, the other can't. Could that be a thing?
That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Did I say Mr. Plow came up with it? I came up with it.
Well, there's two characters in the High Republic that are essentially they partially share their consciousness.
Okay.
And yeah, you could be playing somewhat off of that trope.
Yeah. There's a lot that can happen, and I hope more happens because, this is just kicking it off. I get it. I mean, even Andor was slow in the beginning. I can give it that. I'm hoping it picks up a lot. I'm gonna say it was like a 7 out of 10 for me for both, like together, the episodes together. And so I think it has room to grow. And I also don't like origin stories. So like, cool. Once we get past that, maybe we can start like building up these characters.
Yeah. I usually go easy on first episodes because it's like they typically are truly a pilot where like it's even filmed months in advance of everything else. And then by the time the actors are comfortable with each other and it feels natural, that's in later episodes. But yeah.
Oh, I also love the dynamic. I'm sorry, I'm just saying stuff now. The dynamic of that Osha got the tattoo. And then she was like, "You don't like it," and he's like, "Doesn't matter if I like it." And I was like, "Oh, the dynamic that they have is so clearly like a father-daughter dynamic that they're gonna have to reckon with at some point." The way it was like she was, "Oh, you're disappointed I got a tattoo," and he's like, "That's not the relationship we're supposed to have."
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. I love their relationship. I love their kind of dynamic, and I love Jecki. I love that she's smarter than Yord.
Yeah, because she came up with the plan.
Yeah,
right?
They went with her plan. Yep.
I thought that was cool.
It's the brains and the brawn. Yeah.
I mean,
like,
my cat is
Padawan.
smarter than Yord.
more shirtless Yord. Just yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what Mr. Plow is talking about in the chat. Anyway, as we close up this episode, I want to thank everybody out there for watching and or listening. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show or youtube.com/The Keeg Show. Or you listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. Apple Podcasts, Google Play. No, not Google Play anymore. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, SoundCloud, all that sort of stuff. We're on pretty much every podcast platform, and then live streaming on Twitch and YouTube. If you want to follow us on social media, you can follow The Keeg on TikTok and Instagram at The Keeg Show. We're also on Facebook, Threads, Twitter, all that stuff at The Keeg Show /The Keeg Show, Patreon, that sort of thing. We're all over the place. Before we get going, really quick, where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug? Sarah, you want to go first?
Sure. I am on Instagram and TikTok at Ms_Marauder, mostly on Instagram. If you want to, we have some pictures coming from Anime Riverside we did last weekend. We won in the kids cosplay contest. Evie won a performance award. Nice. We are building for Anime Expo coming up in July. So if you watch the new Netflix series Delicious in Dungeon, we are making some cosplays from that. Also, Dr. Stone, we're gonna have
great
some
show
cosplays. Yes, you can see my Senshi helmet right in the back is being built. So And then we've got San Diego Comic-Con, and we are building a tiny Paul Atreides. So my daughter's gonna be a little tiny Paul Atreides, and I'm gonna be a sandworm. So if you would like to see the madness that will be that build, tune in and watch the progress on Instagram.
Any chance that we'll get a teeny tiny kaiju number 8?
Possibly, yeah, definitely a possibility. Pretty much within the first 20 minutes of watching a show, she will request a cosplay. So yeah, she has Marcel from Delicious in Dungeon, and I'm gonna do Senshi. So
all right,
awesome.
So that's our big anime build, and our big San Diego Comic-Con build is gonna be Paul Atreides and Mom as a sandworm.
Choco, are you going to San Diego Comic-Con?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's fine. You know.
Also, if you're gonna be in town for San Diego Comic-Con, this is a plug I'm not authorized to make, but Mosh Isley is happening on the Friday of San Diego Comic-Con. It's like what if emo night was Star Wars.
I will try to go to that.
Come to that actually. If you yeah. If you're in the area.
Cool. All right. Choco, where can we find you? What do you got coming up?
DarthChoco on TikTok, DarthChoco on YouTube, DarthChoco 7 on Twitter, and I don't go there much anymore for mental health reasons. Yeah, just more content. And I've been resurrecting the High Ground podcast, but more as singular conversations. So I'm gonna have a lot more content with just short conversations with cool people. I hope to get all of you guys as some of those cool people eventually, but we're working our way there. Making my way downtown.
Sounds good. Thank you both of you for coming on this show and lending your voices and your personality and your thoughts and opinions. Also about thoughts and opinions, everybody who was in our chat, whether it's Renan R or Hello Jer or Joseph Ricci, who just showed up to say, hi, how are you tonight? I just watched the 2 episodes. Anyone who just showed up, you can always just watch the live stream
restart
afterwards. You could restart it on your own. We're not gonna do an encore. Or you listen to the podcast wherever you get the podcast from. Because like, comment, subscribe, follow, write a review, help out the show. The Keeg has multiple different shows. Now this show is the Acolyte Tonight. We're doing this until this season's over. We're doing this every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Pacific time, 11 p.m. Eastern. So you can watch the show at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 9 p.m. Eastern, and then just wait an hour after you finish it. And we'll be on with a live stream every single Tuesday to talk about the episode that just came on. But we do other shows. We do Comic Talk every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. We do the Keeg Talks on the weekends. And once a month, we do State of X. It's our monthly X-Men podcast. Where we keep everybody up to date on everything X-Men so that, you don't get left behind. New X-Men comics are coming out soon. There's like a small restart sort of thing. It's not a reboot, but it's like a new era of X-Men that I'm very excited for. If you want to find a comic shop near you, go to comicshoplocator.com. There are a lot of Star Wars comics out there. So find a comic shop near you, buy some Star Wars comics, whether it's, High Republic or not. There's a lot of Star Wars comics out there that are worth getting. Other than that, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for coming on. Thank you everybody out there for watching. Once again, I am your host, Dimithri Perera, and we got co-host.
There's me, Ms. Marauder. Hey, it's me. I never know whether to use my real name or my internet name.
I mean, that's up to you. And this has been episode 1 and 2 of The Acolyte on The Acolyte Tonight. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.